Hi, my name is Kiruba Shankar. I'm the host of the Movers and Shakers podcast, a show where we have conversations with business leaders, CEOs, and celebrities. This is a show that I do in partnership with Hindu Business Line and BL on Campus. In this edition, we have an interesting global guest, Nami Zarringhalam. You may not recognize his name, but you'll definitely recognize the app that he founded, Truecaller. Rings a bell? Yup, this is the app that can magically figure out the name of any phone number around the world. This is the app that sounded the death knell for spammers. Recently, I got to host Huddle Kerala, one of the largest startup conventions in Asia, in Kerala, of course, and Nami was there as a keynote speaker. So I spent some time on the sidelines of the conference and we had this very interesting conversation. There's a lot of apprehension about Truecaller using people's information, and consequently there's questions about security. And especially after the Cambridge Analytica fiasco, I'm sure there's a lot of focus on it. How do you respond?
Well, we've always thought that privacy is part of the core offerings in Truecaller. Everything we've built from the start has been an opt-in feature, and we make it easy for users to opt out. You can even delete or customize your name without being a Truecaller user. So you have the right to be forgotten. All of these things are core things that we built and we launched at a very early stage. I think you need to have that forward-looking thinking around privacy, and not just see where things are right now, but also look at where things are going and take responsibility for the data that you're collecting. So we, for instance, do not collect any data that we will not use to enhance the user experience inside the app. And it's not even just about enhancing the user experience in the app in forms of ads, but rather it's about using that in specific functionality or features of the app. So, for instance, when you mark a number as spam, if you have location turned on and if you've shared your location with us, we actually use that data to create local, regionalized spam top lists, which then get downloaded back to the devices so that they have offline capabilities of detecting spam. So those are some of the really beautiful, smart things that we're doing with the data to give back to the users the experience and the to live up to the expectations that they have of Truecaller. We've built in those things since early days, and we will continue to work on them and continue to strive to be best in class in that aspect.
Got it. In how many countries is Truecaller predominantly present?
I think it's basically all countries in the world. The ones that we have a major penetration is, you can think of it as a belt, starting from India and then going across to countries in the Middle East, the whole Middle East, and then North Africa and Southern Africa. So all of these countries in this belt, we have a fantastic engagement with our users. There is a similar type of penetration across all these markets. Then there's a couple of different markets, other markets like US, UK, Italy, Sweden, Brazil, where we also have a pretty big user base. But in comparison, most of these countries that I just mentioned stand to be smaller than a country like India or Nigeria, etc., where we have such a big penetration.
So in terms of pecking order, what is India's rank in terms of
it's
users?
number one for sure.
Why do you think so?
Well, I think we focused specifically on India. India was quick on getting onto smartphones, and recent developments with data connectivity and 4G being more accessible here than it is in many other markets actually, because of pricing, because of the fierce competition among carriers here, has created this huge opportunity, a growth opportunity, not just for, of course, app developers like us, but for the consumers themselves to be able to connect to internet and have their first online experience on their smartphones, as opposed to, you know, going through the laptops and the emails and those kind of things. So instead, it's your smartphone, it's your phone number, you know, and that data connectivity and shareability and all those things that phones bring with them.
Got it. Last few set of questions. Who do you admire the most and take a lot of inspiration from?
I think that's a tough question, because there's a lot of people that I admire generally. You know, there's specific startup or like if you say business leaders. I think Jeff Bezos is definitely one. The journey that has been made, the kind of grit that he's had, and the kind of culture spread throughout the company is something that is very admirable, I believe. And then, you know, you have other people like who are not necessarily in you know, in tech that we admire a lot. There's business leaders in Sweden that have nothing to do with tech or startups, but you know, when you speak to them, you realize that they're on a totally different level, and you have so much still to learn. And you know, I think what's important is that you try to get close to those people and learn as much as possible.
Sure. You really had my deep respect when I asked you a question on stage. Why haven't you sold it off to big companies like Facebook, Google, you know, for millions of dollars and retired by your own island? What was the answer you gave?
Well, I said we don't intend to sell the company. I think you know, we have a very unique position here in India as a platform, because if you think about you know, the problems that we're solving, there's actually no one else solving these problems, and we're very committed to continuing solving these problems and continuing striving towards building this platform and creating more value for our users. So you know, there's a lot of safety aspects of it. For instance, you know, in recent reports we've learned that a lot of women in India, they look up the cab driver's phone number in Truecaller before jumping into the cab. They make sure that it's a verified driver. Now, which other product allows you to do that? And which other product creates that kind of safety and trust with a user? I think we have a very unique position, and we are definitely around to stay.
Thank you for that, and thank you for giving us a product of immense use, and thank you for being an inspiration. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.